Thank you so much for staying with us. For the latest in the world of sports, here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Melinda. Now, the international friendly game between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Stallions of Burkina Faso, scheduled for next week Monday, has been cancelled. The head of the NFF Technical and Development Committee confirmed that the match was called off because 7 Burkinabe players weren't granted visas into the United Kingdom. On Friday, March the 24th, Burkina Faso were beaten 2-0 in a friendly match against Morocco, and they were hoping to improve when they meet the Super Eagles. Now the NFF is working on a plan B to get another opponent for the Nigerian team. Atletico Madrid youth team has beaten the NPFL Under-17 All-Stars 2-1 to emerge winner of this year's Houghton Future Champions Tournament. Alberto Salido opened scoring for the Spanish team in the 22nd minute. Early in the second half, Nazifi Yahya equalized for the Nigerian team in the 48th minute. And as the match approached the closing minutes, Adrian Luque restored Atletico's lead with a fine header. The boys from Nigeria didn't lose any game before the final, but couldn't convert most of the scoring chances against the more determined and disciplined Spanish side, Atletico. Nigeria Professional Football League champions Rangers International have given coach Imama Amapakabo a 3-match must-win notice or face the sack. This followed the ouster of the Flying Antelopes in the final qualifying round of the CAF Champions League and their recent loss to Shooting Stars of Ibadan in the domestic league. This means Amapakabo must earn a victory at Katsina United on Sunday and their next 2 home games to save his job. Rangers are currently placed 19th on the league standing with just 12 points. Barcelona will honor former player and manager Johan Cruyff with a statue at the Camp Nou Stadium. The club will also name the new stadium they are building for their B team after the former Dutch international. The Spanish champions made the announcement after the first-year anniversary of Cruyff's death. He won 13 trophies during his time managing and playing for the club, including their first European Cup in 1992 at Wembley. And that's a wrap in sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. The news at 10 continues shortly.
U.S. President Donald Trump has promised to turn the tax reform following his failure to get his health care bill through Congress on Friday. He told journalists at the White House that he would start going very strong for the big tax cuts, which were supposed to be paid for by savings from the withdrawn health care bill. The failed draft bill, a major setback for the new president, would have scrapped the Affordable Care Act of his predecessor, Barack Obama. Thousands of people are fleeing the Iraqi city of Mosul amid heavy fighting by U.S. and Iraqi troops who are battling to oust the Islamic State militants. Dozens of people were reported buried in the wreckage after an airstrike hit the western Mosul earlier in the week. Other residents say ISIS is using civilians as human shields, hiding in houses and forcing the young men to fight.
Iraqi government forces on Saturday paused their bid to recapture western Mosul from Islamic State militants due to the high rate of civilian casualties. Residents escaping the besieged area say Iraqi and U.S.-led coalition airstrikes have demolished buildings and killed numerous civilians. We were fired upon from the coalition Air Force. The snipers go to the top of buildings that have families, and the Air Force strikes these buildings, killing them and everyone in the house. The insurgents have also used civilians as human shields and opened fire on them as they tried to escape Islamic State-held neighborhoods. We were being fired on and Islamic State would not let the families out. We went out in the middle of the night. People were killed, but thank God we managed to escape. Hungry and exhausted, Thousands of fleeing residents wade through the mud, past wrecked buildings and shattered pavements to reach an army checkpoint. Some carry suitcases or bags, others have fled with just the clothes on their backs. They come by foot or pile into carts, and some push relatives in wheelchairs. In the meantime, mostly women and children fill the beds in this emergency-filled hospital near Mosul's front line.
Unfortunately, over the last several weeks, it seems more and more of our injuries are mothers and small children, 4-year-olds, 8-year-olds, and just the innocent bystanders and victims of war.
Being so close to the conflict means the hospital can save lives that might previously have been lost, or in some cases, just provide comfort in the victims' final hours. The U.S.-backed offensive to drive the Islamic State out of Mosul, now in its 6th month, has recaptured most of the city. The entire eastern side and about half of the west is under Iraqi control.
A ban on large electronic devices on flights coming from Turkey, some Middle Eastern countries and North Africa to the United States and the United Kingdom has come into effect. Officials say devices larger than a smartphone must travel in the hold because of an increased risk that they could contain explosives. However, at least one airline is allowing devices to be used up until boarding. The US ban covers 8 countries, while the UK restriction applies to 6. 9 airlines from 8 countries, such as Turkey, Morocco, Jordan, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, are affected by the US ban. They operate about 50 flights a day to the United States. And the main news again. The police in Cross River State today arrested a man who is suspected to be behind the food poisoning that killed a couple and sent 4 others to hospital in Ogoja. Also today, the federal government announced plans to roll out a new policy direction for the nation's universities, just as it has resolved to end the face-off between the institutions' governing councils and their management. And US President Donald Trump today turned his attention to tax reforms after failing to get his health care bill through Congress yesterday. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Melinda Akinwami.